Hi, I'm Casey, and these are G-Free Foodie's gluten-free baking tips. Baking tip number 1, and maybe the most important, is keep out the grit. The consistency of gluten-free baked goods can be an absolute challenge. So you want to make sure that you're using a gluten-free flour blend that's very, very finely ground, unless you're baking with something that's intentionally grainy like cornmeal. Also, I suggest investing in baker's sugar, which is more finely ground than regular white sugar, or giving white sugar a few spins through your food processor to make it a little finer. Baking tip number 2 is to use a gluten-free flour blend. You can follow the guide on gfreefoodie.com or find a commercial one that you love, but you want a finely ground blend of at least 3, but hopefully 5 gluten-free flours. Like I say, you can follow the guide on gfreefoodie.com or find a commercial one that you love. In baking, I recommend not using a flour that includes chickpea or garbanzo or any of the bean flours. They're great for savory items, but they can give baked goods an off taste. Gluten-free baking tip number 3 is cream that fat with sugar whenever you can. Whether you're using real butter or a dairy-free substitute, you want to whip your sugar and butter together if it'll work in your recipe, because it'll give a lightness and a better texture to your gluten-free items. Gluten-free baking tip number 4 is all about flavor. Do not omit the salt or flavorings or extracts from your gluten-free baking goods. In fact, when I bake gluten-free, I often add an extra half teaspoon of vanilla or chocolate or whatever extract to my recipe. You need the salt because in addition to enhancing flavor, it gives some structure to gluten-free baked goods, and that's especially important if you're making a free-form item like a biscuit or a cookie or a scone. So get those extracts and salt in those baked goods. Baking tip number 5 is important if you're baking gluten-free with yeast. You want that yeast to give your breads or cakes all that rise you're looking for, and salt can do funny things to yeast. So make sure that your salt is fully incorporated into your other dry goods so it doesn't cause that yeast to seize up. Baking tip for gluten-free bakers number 6 sounds simple, but it's really important. You want to take care of your ingredients. Some gluten-free flours, like brown rice flour, have a short shelf life, and items like xanthan gum and yeast won't do their thing if they've not been kept at the proper temperatures. So make sure you're taking care of your ingredients. The last thing you want to do is get all the way through a recipe and find out that one of your items wasn't doing what it was supposed to do. So care for your ingredients properly. Gluten-free baking tip number 7 is use xanthan or regualr gum and use it in the right amount. This is xanthan gum here, and this lovely little powder gives texture and stability to your gluten-free baked goods. If you're cooking from a gluten-free recipe already, that's probably already included. But if you're trying to convert your own baked good recipe, you can follow the guide on gfreefoodie.com for adding xanthan or regualr gum to your recipe. Our last gluten-free baking tip, number 8, is taste your products and consider the flavor and the texture. If you made a recipe you love, awesome. If you made a recipe that you're not quite happy with, consider whether it's the flavor or the texture that's bothering you. And then decide, are there a couple of ingredients I can adjust? Or do I need to look at the xanthan gum, the regualr gum, or the flours that I used and work a little on the texture? I know that you'll be able to bake yummy gluten-free baked goods at your house with our awesome recipes and these easy tips. Happy gluten-free baking, everyone.